It's all fun and games till someone gets shot.
This Penguin show that just released on HBO is amazing. It's literally a perfect portrayal of the character Penguin. I personally like Batman a lot. I think Batman is by far one of the best superheroes, and the reason why is not only because Batman is cool, but also Batman has some of the best villains, but also his city where like the character operates is kind of like a villain in and of itself. Arkham City, Arkham Asylum. I can't think of any other superhero who have a city that is iconic as some of the villains and even the main character, right? In this show, there's one character who was like, "Oh, you're back from," and then she says Arkham, and then when she said that she came from Arkham Asylum, it just hits so much different. Like with Superman, with Flash, with Spider-Man, all these other characters, their world is generally good, and then it's just a couple of like superheroes who's going around causing chaos. But Batman is the opposite. The whole thing is chaos, and there's a couple of people who's out trying to do good, and they're just getting flooded with negativity, right, and chaos. So that's why I really like Batman, and I've been following Batman for a very, very long time, like watching shows and movies and whatnot. The movie in 2022 was really good as well, even though some people said it was too long and it was boring and it was slow. You know, when you talk about Batman, a lot of people forget that he is like a detective. People usually just get to the action-packed punch and kicking Batman. That's awesome too, but he's also the world's greatest detective, and that's what I like about that movie, is that they highlighted that part of him. And there's a lot of things that he noticed that other people just didn't notice, and there was also some things that he wasn't able to do in time, which is why the whole city flooded. You're basically just seeing like the start of the Batman, right? He's not perfect there yet, but he's getting there, right? You're seeing the climbs to it. And now when you talk about the Penguin, it's the same thing. In that movie, he was under Carmine Falcone. He's like the underworld mob boss, right? And Penguin, you know, he's usually depicted as the guy running things. So this is also his way to the top as well. And in the movie, Falcone dies, and everyone's wondering who's going to take his spot. This is where the show picks up, and just the opening of them talking about the news, and then Penguin staring out the window, it sets the tone perfectly. I watch so many shows where the opening scene or the opening like moment is fire, but then the rest of it is complete garbage. But this did not let down. It's without even him saying a word, just with the way that the news people are talking about who's going to take the throne, you know, the sun, this, that, and he's staring off into the city. Like, it made me think of like a Scarface, like the world is mine kind of moment. It was a really good like introduction to the whole thing. What I like about Penguin as well, because you have a lot of iconic characters in Batman, and I think Penguin is one of my personal favorites, and the reason why I like this show so much is because it's a perfect portrayal of him. Penguin is like chaos. Like, if you think about Joker's kind of the opposite of Batman. Batman is all about like justice and doing the right thing and just order. Joker is like chaos and just anarchy. Penguin, even though he's very chaotic as well, but there's more to him. Like, he has more sense of greed. He has like more selfishness. He's a psycho, but it's more so like a, you know, crime boss, money hungry, greedy kind of psycho. It's just like more layers there wrapped together than you would get with Joker. Joker's very iconic. I think he's a better villain than Penguin, but Penguin, I feel like he doesn't get a lot of respect himself. And this show did a good job of showing how people view him, right? Because in the movies and the cartoons and stuff, he's usually short. He's kind of like a dwarf kind of guy, right? But in this show, his body stature would make you feel like intimidated just standing next to him. So they have to do something to make him feel small. And one way they go about doing that is having the people who's over him talk down to him. Like, for example, one of the first interactions he have in the show is when he's talking to Falcone's son. The son is like, they tell you right off the back, he has a drug problem, drinking problem. He's not really fit to like take the reins of a crime boss. And Penguin can obviously see that. He obviously wants the throne for himself, but he can't just go in and just take it from him. He has to be really smart and meticulous about how he goes about it. Now, even when his interaction with the son is very arrogant, cocky, disrespectful. He's talking down to Pigwin, and Pigwin is kind of just like, okay, boss, no, you're right, boss. When he was going to the other bosses in a big mansion, he was like, we usually drive down here, they say some things to me, it makes them feel big, it makes me feel small, then we go our separate ways. Like, he understands how the game is being played. He's very careful not to step out of that line, and because of that, a lot of people don't really see what he's capable of. And that's what I like about the hangman. That's the girl, for those of you who don't know. The hangman, she kind of calls him out on that. She says a lot of people underestimate you, but not me. She understands what he's really capable of and how smart he truly is, and also how, like, he's kind of like a liar, a manipulator, and he will do anything to escape whatever's coming to him. That trait being applied to someone who's like the underdog, someone who's being like belittled, and someone who gets themselves into a sticky situation, like you talk about episode 1, how Falcon's son basically laughs at him, Pigman pulls out a gun and shoots him. It's all just like his natural reaction. Is him being kind of like a madman, right? He pulls out the gun, shoots at him, he laughs a little bit, he's like, oh my god, what did I do? Like, just that little moment there is really incredible, because it allows you to get really deep into the character without much having to be said. Like, in many shows, they will tell you everything, how the character feels, what the character is thinking, what the character wants to do, is thinking about doing. In this show, they don't really do much. They don't really do that. They really just like let the character act and do things, no matter how subtle, and it's up to you to pick it up. And if you do pick it up, it will pay off way later down the road. Another part that was really cool too is when he was shooting at the kids trying to steal his rims. He had this little kid who was trying to steal his rims tag along with him to deal with his body. And then once it was actually in the trunk, he told the kid, look off into the sunset. It's a beautiful sunset. And it's kind of like he was planning to shoot him in the back, right? The kid's name is Victor. Victor was like, no, don't do that. Wait. And how that situation comes back to bite him later when he's being interrogated by the hangman. They have the other kid there. They beat him up, roughed him up a little bit, and the little kid basically spilled the beans on everything that the Pigman was doing. And now Pigman is in this situation where he's basically caught. They know he killed the son, and you have this little kid there who's kind of, adding to the story, right? So the hangman is like, okay, tell us right now, and she basically just wants to hear it, because here's the thing about the Pigman, right? He's like a liar, he's like a snake, a trickster, all of these things, and she knows in this moment that Pigman killed her brother, and she just want him to admit it, and that's why they're going to interrogate him to get it out of him, right? And I like how they allow Pigman to be like, you're gonna trust this guy over me, and then she kills the kid, because it's never really about the kid. The kid is already dead at this point. Basically, he was not gonna leave that mansion alive. He's seen way too much. But I like how that kid is used for Pigman. Pigman sees this kid as a way out. If I could get them to believe me instead of the kid, then I can walk free. But the hangman knows that that is Pigman's goal, and that's why when he's like, you're going to believe him over me, she just immediately shoots him, because she knows it's like Pigman's only way out, and she wants him to see there is no way out. There is no way for him to survive this. We know what you did. You cannot blame anyone. You cannot point fingers at anyone. You just simply has to admit it. It's what she wants. Now, of course, he follows through with the plan of cutting off the ring finger, putting payback on the hood of the car, crashing the car into the mansion, and now the Falcons believe that it's the other gang who killed the son and not Pigman. I do like how that allowed him to escape. I think they did it very nicely. It was very believable, because they spent a lot of time throughout the whole episode setting it up, from first being introduced to the ring, to the prison scene, to the kid wanting to prove himself that he can do it, and then even at the end they're talking about Pigman and Victor is talking about how, like, you did a good job, but we got to work on some things, right? It just shows the progression of everyone basically, and I think it does a good job. When I was watching it and I seen Victor was tagging along with Pigman, I was like, oh, here we go, it's about to get trash, because that's usually how it goes. Let's say like an Indiana Jones, right? You have the character that everyone shows up to see, and then you'll have another character, a younger character, like a daughter, kid, something, whatever, right? And then they'll tag along, and the story would really be about them under this weird guise that is about Indiana Jones. I don't know if you guys remember that Disney movie that I'm referring to, but that's literally what they did, and I thought Pigman was going to be that again, where they pretend it's about Pigman, but really it's about Victor, and that's what I was kind of like expecting, but the story never does that. It never really diminishes Pigman to elevate Victor, even though Pigman is kind of like threatening taking Victor and is using him as like a little puppet, it shows their natural progression to kind of becomes I don't know if I want to say friends in the first episode, but basically they're like, you know, partners at the moment, you know, Batman and Robin, sidekick and villain, right? They did a really good job with showing his like heart. I like how he has this little stutter when he's like kind of afraid or he's like nervous, but then when he kind of is trying to overcome that, the nerve is gone. Like Pigman was asking him like, can you do this, can you do this, and he was like, I could do it. And then he was like, can you do it? And he was like, I can do it. So just that stutter being gone shows that he is kind of like, you know, rising up. Another thing that I'll say, this is another very legendary part of the episode in my opinion, is the jail scene. So Pigman is kind of down on his luck and he, you know, the walls are closing in. They're discovering little by little that he killed the brother and they want revenge. And he is basically trying to like put pieces together and find his way out, as the Pigman does. He goes to the jail, talks to the other crime boss, and Pigman knows how the world views him. They view him as weak, stupid, backstabber, trickster, all of these things. He goes to talk to the crime boss, and the crime boss basically hears him out like, okay, what do you want? Why are you here? Pigman tells him. And then he's like, okay, you think I forgot all the slimy, backstabbing stuff that you've done? We won't work with you, right? And he basically shoos him away. But then what Pigman does, because he's prepared, he knows these things, he pulls out the ring and he's like, oh, isn't this yours? I love how subtle it was. So subtle. Isn't this yours? And then the guy, the prison inmate, the mob boss, right? He did a very good job of like reaching out, selling it. Like the acting was phenomenal. You could do these same scenes, same lines with worse actors and everything is gone. The actors, the storytelling, everything wrapped together nicely. And then the way that Pigman was walking away and he was explaining like, you know, they've been flexing what they did for you for years, you know, and he's like, how'd you get the ring? And he's like, maybe I'm more than what you expected. Like, it's very, very good. This is just episode 1. I don't know how many episodes there is, but I hope that the next episodes in all of the seasons follows this same level of storytelling, because I watched many shows where the first like 2 or 3 episodes was amazing and then by the 5th one it's trash. I like all of the characters and their portrayal, from the hangman to Victor to Pigman to the mob bosses. I think it does a good job of putting him in a tough position, and we get to see Pigman do what he do best, wiggle his way out. And when you just think about where this is going, from him starting at the bottom and then making his way to the top, I am just dying to see how that happens. It's going to be incredible. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one, and bye bye.